Good morning, everyone. Today's Monday, June 28th, 2021. The time is 9:01 a.m. We have a special meeting agenda, meeting with our Airport and Airport Advisory Board for an update. Officially calling the meeting to order, attending Commissioners Duncan, Brooks, and Filios. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, but I have 8:59. What do you have, Nancy? 9 o'clock now? Yep, I just turned.
Yeah, that's off by 2 minutes. Okay. Oh, well, now it's 9.
All right, okay. I don't have any changes to the agenda.
Okay, so first item, review of June 2021 Advisory Board minutes discussion. Go right ahead, Greg.
Yeah, we had a really, it was a short meeting. Really, the highlight of the meeting was a presentation by Marita Deffenbaugh. She talks about Elevate Northwest. I believe that was what it was, the Elevate Academy North. And really what she's trying to do is create a school for kids that may have lost their way, but may figure out they found a need for what they do in the trades. And it was a good meeting, and we tried to convince her that probably aviation would be a good place if she could set things up for some of those students that come learn about how to be an A&P, work on avionics, or even work for the airport or manage an airport. So it was a good meeting. And then that was about it. But we have 4 of the advisory board members here today, including myself. That's 4.
So welcome, everyone.
And they may want to add something, but it was just a short meeting.
I was on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Joan, anything?
Just ditto what he said. That was a pretty awesome concept on that.
Okay. So is that it for the review?
We do have a status update if the commission wants to discuss that at all. It was pretty similar to what's happened in the past. The only other thing is that we do have the north side development. We actually do have a walkthrough, pre-design walkthrough actually this Wednesday for the north side sewer line and utility installation this Wednesday. So that should be moving forward. And we'll actually see bids opening on the 13th at the meeting then on that day. Hopefully they're somewhat good, but luckily for the most part, those are just pass-through costs for us. We will have to carry a little bit of those because we have 2 lots that are not leased out yet, but I have a feeling that they may be leased sooner rather than later.
Okay.
But on that, still pretty much the same, other than D North is basically done. We did do reductions to the contractor totaling about $16,000, and we also are holding some additional money from them because they installed grass outside of October, which is required by the FAA. If you want to install grass, you must do it in October, and if you don't, and it doesn't grow, they have to redo it.
Oh, okay.
And let me tell you, it's not growing.
Yeah, I don't know that anything's growing but weeds.
Yeah, right. It's pretty much what it is right now.
Okay.
And that's about it for the status update.
Okay. Questions for Stephen? None. Okay. Second item, possibility of 2 lease termination discussion.
So this is just an FYI. We have 2 leases that are getting to their point where they're getting to the point where in the lease we identify that they should be starting construction, but they haven't even submitted plans or anything. And we are probably within about 5 months from the point where they should be substantially completed. And they have not submitted any plans to downtown as far as we can see. We have 2 leases that we're aware of as of today, but typically in the past we haven't really pushed this item, but with us having a waiting list for hangar development, we are going to be pushing this significantly more. And I just wanted to give you a heads up that there are 2 out there today. What our plan is about 3 months out from the you must be complete, the drop dead date. We'll bring this back as an official item for each lease and basically say this is your timeline. If you don't have it by this date, we cut you off on this.
And I take it you have communicated with them in writing?
This is just a preliminary discussion. It identifies it in their lease agreements.
But I mean, do they know that they're being scrutinized?
We call it out when they sign their leases. We tell them you have to do this by this date, and if you don't,
I'd suggest a note.
And we're going to do that beside the fact.
Okay.
It's
even though you don't have to.
We want to warn the board that this is upcoming.
Okay.
Where are they, on north side or they
They're in the
other
south,
place?
southwest.
Southwest side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One we've seen social media posts of one individual trying to sell the lot. So we don't believe he actually had an intention of actually developing it.
Okay.
But we're collecting lease rates from it, and we'll deal with it as if he doesn't develop it.
Fair enough.
50% lease rates?
No.
No.
The only time we do 50% lease reduction is when it's a development larger than $1 million.
Larger than $1 million. Thank you.
Fair enough.
Clearly, those are substantial leases in the
Right.
Any other questions for Stephen? Okay. Moving on. Sewer fees. Discussion.
This is just a reminder that on July 13th that we are having that public hearing, and then that is it.
Okay.
Just the public notice again that's when it's going to be.
So it could be a nice, peaceful hearing.
Sure, we can hope. We have started creating the letters of sending out notifications to tenants. Vast majority, what we're planning on doing is sending the letter to anybody that has a rate change, because vast majority of the people aren't having a rate change.
Right.
So really we're only looking at about 15 to 20 people that are having a true rate change, and those are the letters that we're sending out. Because if you're having a rate change, there's no reason to receive a letter that says you are not receiving a rate change.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Understood. Questions? None? Moving on. Fisher Construction contract action item.
So this is the Fisher contract is actually working its way through downtown legal and things like that.
Okay.
We've actually already paid them for the consulting work that they've done as part of for the SRE building. The question is because we're pushing this and delaying the project, do we want to continue to retain them? The FAA has always had a bit of a heartburn with this design methodology, this procurement methodology, actually, because it's not their standard process. And is it approved? Yes, it is, but the FAA doesn't like it. So they like the standard design bid build. This is not that. And my question to you is, do we continue to use Fisher where we have them do all the bidding process and continue on, or do we switch to the more normal design bid build? My actual recommendation is we actually switch to the design bid build. We'll switch. It'll cost us a little bit of time to repackage everything, but we then will make the FAA significantly more happy about and more comfortable about that process, because that's part of the issue. They're not, in my opinion, I think part of the reason they didn't want to move forward with the grant this year, because I'll be honest, I've had the FAA give me a grant on I think it's going to cost this. We had technically we had bid numbers. We had everything that would have checked the boxes, and they still didn't want to issue a grant. So,
what's their contribution to this, Stephen?
They're going to probably be about $1 million more, is what the FAA will put in.
Out of the total, what are you anticipating?
Depends on what it should cost or what it cost this last bid.
What was the last bid?
3.6.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So how did we get started on the not normal process?
It was timelines. Because the FAA and I have a difference of opinion on how that timeline got started.
Gotcha.
But they gave us money and a deadline, and the only way we could get to that deadline was to get a contractor on board as soon as possible.
Gotcha. Okay.
So.
Okay. Now, would they be able to rebid when you repackage and everything?
Fisher would be allowed to be able to rebid as just a normal GC, and we can move forward with that.
Okay.
So it's no real action item. It's just that I'll bring this back at another board meeting and with the termination of the contract once it's signed and approved.
So at this point, you're looking for direction?
Yes.
Okay. I think okay. Leslie, you okay?
Yeah, I think so.
You've got it.
Okay.
All right. Sale of the 20 acres of land.
So this is the discussion item. I know we're trying to avoid impacting the gun club right now. In front of you is this
Uh-huh.
area, and this is an area that should be outside of the gun club, so long as they manage their people properly. To be honest, I'm slightly concerned about that in general, due to an incident that they did.
I am in favor of the gun club staying there, at least for 2 solid years. But the incident that you described to me was particularly disturbing. Would you detail that, please?
Yeah, so moving away from this, but approximately 2 weeks ago, or on a weekend, one of our staff members was actually hit by a shotgun pellet. Our staff member was located in our SRE building at
Had to be
space.
buckshot.
It was
How far away is that?
You're what, say 1,200 feet, 13, maybe 15, 1,600 feet. So you're a quarter mile, half mile away. And he hit him in the lower back. He's fine. He had a welt for a while. But what happened for the incident, from what I understand, is the gun club did not inspect, as they were supposed to, the individual's shells. So they were shooting double-aught buckshot and ended up shooting well beyond the target range of any shot that they should have been able to shoot.
They were also not only using large shot, but they were obviously using magnum shells.
And believe
because
magnum shells.
that would never carry that far.
And it ended up hitting our staff.
Okay.
So,
Was a report made with KCSO?
not with KCSO. We did submit one to HR.
Oh, keep going.
So, but this question is due to some things that are going to be occurring in the next couple of years at the airport, we do need a funding source, a funding mechanism for some of those projects. And to stay away from the gun club, this area for the 20 acres should stay outside of that area. And we can sell that individually. It is set up to be separate lots today. And it is broken out into a 20-acre parcel already. It's already had a lot split done to be that. And it's just having the conversation of, does the board have any appetite to sell this independently away from the other 40 acres with the knowledge that it could be sold later, it can be whatever, done with whatever items later, but the other 40 acres can be dealt with at a later date.
Okay, so just for in case anybody's listening in, and just so that we're all on the same page, the 20 acres is the 20 acres encompassing the gun club?
No, 20 acres is actually to the north or to the east of the gun club.
Okay.
It is the area that is directly to the west of Parks and Waterways, the sheriff, search and rescue, PAC building, the airport shops, the airport road access shops, and shops, and then the gun club to east of the gun club line.
So why would the gun club, why would we have any consideration for the gun club with regard to the sale of this land, or wouldn't we?
We wouldn't.
Okay, fair enough.
That's the idea, is if we sold this 20 acres, we're away from the should be away from the impacts of the gun club.
So is this the PAC is located on this 20 acres? No, you're talking about it's
everything to the west of it and to the east of the gun club. There's nothing there. There's no improvements. There's nothing.
Okay, I know where you are.
okay, because this is not helping me.
Yeah, so if you look at the line, the diagonal line, that's the road that goes into the airport shops.
Okay.
So the PAC is to the west of that, to northwest of that.
Right.
Okay. All right. So then that's 40 acres down below here.
Yes.
Okay. In general, I really have a problem with selling anything next to the airport because we'll never get that back. I guess it just depends on really who it's going to be. I mean, we've got to have the right neighbors, but in general, I'm just not, and I haven't finished going through the information that you sent me about upcoming projects. But I just have an issue about selling property next to the airport. I want it to be protected.
I'd wait for a while.
What's your recommendation?
My opinion is we need a funding mechanism. So my opinion is we sell it, especially right now where it's a 20 acres in today's market, and we would sell it as commercial. It's deed restrictions as no residential is allowed. No impacts can be done to air navigation. I mean, we can put some significant restrictions onto this sale, onto a deed restriction.
What do you think it would bring?
My guess, for considering this is a clean 20 acres, with you're somewhere in between 100,000 to 150,000. I mean, Joan, you're
Per acre?
per acre. You're commercial.
I'm not a commercial agent, but that's probably right there.
You don't have, in the foreseeable future, you don't believe the airport's going to have any need for this?
The issue is the airport will not be able to. The airport could use it, but it's not going to be aeronautical. It'll be something else. My personal opinion is I'd actually love to develop it as a storage unit that the airport actually operates.
Right.
I've said that to, I think, all of you. It's a great revenue source, but you need a funding source to build it right now. The issue is access for aeronautical use. We don't have a great access point. You have to close off Airport Road. You have to realistically remove hangars to do that, unless you do one point. And if you're talking 60 odd acres for hangar development, you're in excess of over 200 aircraft when you start looking at for small aircraft. One access point doesn't make sense. So it's long term. It makes far more sense for us to sell this and buy land on the north side of the airport than it does to keep this land and continue to work through.
How is it zoned?
It is industrial or commercial.
Okay. My take is the demand for commercial space with people working from home, thanks to COVID, is probably not going to go anywhere in the near term, unless things change and employers start calling people back. And some are, not necessarily a 5-day week, split schedules and that sort of thing. The other thing too, and Joan, you can chime in here, as crazy as this market is, we are seeing more open houses. We are starting to see some, and I highlight the word some, maybe few, price reductions. If you can sell it, sell it. That's my opinion. Because 2 years from now, we could be facing a very different market.
I agree with Bill to just wait. I think we have a lot of projects up in the air, a lot of things going on, and I don't think we need to make that decision
I
today.
think in the prime real estate season, if you will, which is really not that far away, we start, April around here? If we picked this thing up again in April and looked at it, we'd have a lot clearer picture in terms of our projects and in terms of the market. So that's what I'd do.
So
If that's okay,
Anyone?
I will have to support what Chris is saying, that we are seeing probably every day a certain number of price reductions on the market, and it was just in a certain given price point, but now it seems to be pretty much all over. A few more days on market happening. My gut feeling is that something is going on out there. I can't put my finger on it, but I do think we're going to see a shift in the market. I think buyers are pushing back against the higher price points. So in terms of timing and trying to get the most money for a sale, the time might be good now.
I just have a different view. I think what's happening is people have tried to grab that brass ring with overpricing their property, and people haven't taken it. So they've had to reduce their prices. Not that it isn't selling, but I've seen a lot in my own neighborhood. A lot of people take houses and boost the price $100,000, $200,000, and then sit there and go, "How come nobody's buying this?" And then after about a month, they go, well, let's start to lower it.
Yeah, and there could be some of that going on
Yeah.
as well.
I wish I knew we could all be millionaires.
But
That's
I
right.
think you're kind of inadvertently, I think you're agreeing with Joan.
Well,
The market is overpriced.
well, it
When
is.
when you start to see Sandy, and admittedly a lot of this is residential, but when you start to see San Diego or Southern Cal prices, and we don't have the job base, we don't have the reason we have wages are the people who are coming in, quasi techie types, whatever, who can live and work anywhere, and of course they're choosing an area like this. But at some point, this deviation between the skill sets that are required in the jobs and what the jobs are paying and the how do I put it, the shortage of the skill sets is going to catch up to us. I think it's already starting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you don't sell when you're on the upside, look out. But that's my position. I'd sell it now.
I'm not looking to get further on the upside. My daddy always said, get out of the market when it's time, or you'll be just like a little piggy, you'll get slaughtered. But I don't think this is you can't equate this to residential. This is commercial.
Right. That's precisely my point. Commercial is actually suffering greater than
It
residential.
has always during even this quote rebound, this hot market.
I disagree, but okay.
Has there been an appraisal done on that?
We're currently working through an appraisal for all 60 acres.
Well, that would help.
We're at Stan Mo with Columbia
Valuation.
Valuation
Calculation.
is
Why don't you tell us what it's worth for appraisal? It might.
my guess is going to be very similar to the 2.5 acres that is to the north by the Armory, which was about 120,000 an acre.
I'm trying to recall what the land value on KEC was. Matt, I'm sorry, I can't. I remember the appraised value, but I don't remember what the land component was. And that was, well, not long ago, but about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So you have two people saying hold off.
Sounds good.
And not forever. Find out what the land value is, and let's talk about it again.
I'll bring it back when I have the appraisals.
Good. Thank you.
You got it. Anything else? Anything from the board? It's good to see you here, folks. Thank you.
I just have another question about the incident.
Yeah.
So when that happened, did your staff contact the range and they identified the person and the shot used and everything?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. We have an incident report on file with us, and then we also filed a incident report with HR as well.
It's a real no-no at the range. They have signs all over, not only what size shot you may not use or you must use, but how many gram equivalent of powder you can have in so you can't shoot magnum shells out there, even for shooting skeet shot. You can't do that.
And has this ever happened before?
We've never had somebody hit, but we've had arrows come through hangars because they used to have an archery range. You're also talking, our staff is in the SRE building, but not always outside of the SRE building because we're on field.
Right.
We've found random holes in things, but
It would be nice if in the future, if this were to happen again, that they do call the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
we can do that as a staff.
And then they were talking about building up. If they do get a long-term lease, they were going to build a huge berm with trees to fully try to.
I don't think that would have assisted. I mean, it had of. The only way it could have hit him was if it was coming down on a downward trajectory.
The problem is skeet is generally done not like this, like rifle and pistol shooting. It's done at about a 30-degree angle, which makes it carry just as far as it will carry. And the berm would have to be, I mean, I like if they could do that, but the berm would have to be huge.
It'd be
You
an
can
obstruction to
imagine.
us.
Huh?
It'd be an obstruction at the airport if we allowed it at that point.
But I've always said they should start shooting skeet indoors. It's possible. They can do it. They can put it right downtown Coeur d'Alene. Nobody'd hear it. You could have 6 skeet fields. You could recover all the shot, all the clays, have a pro shop, but it would probably cost north of $10 million to do
build
so.
a building.
Skeet shooters will not pay that kind of money.
Anything else? Public comment. Hearing none. That's a little fast, isn't it? So what is it, 9? Okay, 9:24, meeting adjourned. Thank you.